Welcome to my philosophy on spiritual currency. I've decided to do a series of talks from the heart, maybe talks from a spiritual mind. And I want to talk about spiritual currency because I believe it's really important that from this life we learn how to build, we need to learn how to build currency that paves our way when we leave this life. As you know, and I know, that in the physical world we have an energy that we know we call money, and this energy is something that allows us to live a relatively comfortable existence. Without the physical aspect of money, we tend to live more poorly than others, and this could mean that sometimes we don't have money for food. It could mean sometimes we don't have money for clothes. It could mean we don't have money to shelter us from the sun, the rays, the heat, or even the rain, the wet, the cold, the snow. Sometimes having this money will allow us to take a luxury called a holiday, to take a break from our 9 to 5 and go and visit a different country, and perhaps we can see how other people live, and we can lie on a sun deck, and we can bathe, and we can allow the sun to bask its ray of warmth over us, and where we can choose to jump in a pool, cool down and have a swim and play around. We can learn to have a drink, a sunny drink of sunshine ray, of juice and maybe alcohol, combined with some food and some laughter with friends and some partying in the evening with music. So this currency called money could also allow us, whilst we don't go on holiday, but we can learn to use this money for our passions. Maybe we like to draw, to paint, to drive racing cars, to having animals, to riding horses, to having vineyards, to buying different types of clothes, to maybe wearing one set of trainers one day, never wearing them again because we have so many. So there's different spectrums of this currency called money that allows us to live in a different style. And I feel that many of us, when we are born into this physical world, this physical existence as a spirit living a physical human experience, when we are born, we are taught that we need to learn to go to school, to learn the physical aspects of life, to learn our ABCs and our 1, 2, 3s, to learn how to socialize, and to learn how to conform to a particular way of living in a society that values money as power. So you go to work, you work hard, you do your 9 to 5, you spend the majority of your day with people that are not your family and your friends. And if you're unlucky enough to have a manager or a boss who doesn't like you, or you don't get on well with, or your vibrations just don't blend for whatever reason, you will find your existence in the working frame quite a difficult place to work, for being emotionally, mentally, spiritually, maybe physically drained of their spirit that continues to bully and control and abuse their power to suppress you as a individual, as a spirit learning to live within this physical restraint. And when we are taught to live in this working frame, and we get so caught up in needing to pay bills, that we tend to stay too long, I feel, in an environment that is unhealthy and not conducive to our well-being spiritually. And before long, before we know it, we're now in our 50s and our 60s, and it's time to maybe collect our pension, maybe in our early 70s, depending on what the government has allowed us, or allowed us when to collect our payment. And what happens? We then collect our payment, and then we're starting paying off for our funeral costs, because we need to think about when we are going to die, who's going to pay for our funeral. So maybe we'll spend the rest of our time paying for that if we're lucky. However, I do feel that we are given choices in this life. We're also given places to live. That dynamically, if you are given a place in a Western world where you are perhaps given the opportunity to work to earn the physical currency called money, then you have a choice how you wish to earn that money. And that choice is about what type of work you want to do. What type of study do you want to take? What are you willing to commit to in order to gain the qualification or the level of skill required that will maybe bump your money to a higher level? I also feel this money called currency, you have to spend money to pay for your education. But at the same time, whereabouts in all of this journey do we go to school to learn about our spirituality? Where do we learn to understand that meditation is also part of this life and should be part of your 9 to 5? Where do we go to learn about how to grow spiritually? How do we learn to understand that we are a spirit living in a physical body, having an experience that is not of a lifetime experience in the physical sense? Where do we go to learn that when our body is, I don't know, no longer working, no longer conducive for this physical life, spiritually we return to where we came from before we were pushed inside this physical body to live this existence? And therefore we need to start thinking beyond the physical constraints of life, shouldn't we? I feel. And it's something that I feel that when we go to the spirit world, there are levels of planes that we will go to. So when we close our physical eyes for the last time and we open up our spiritual eyes for the second time or first time, however you want to look at it, and when we open our spiritual eyes and we are welcomed by those in the spirit world, our family, our friends, and maybe some doctors and helpers and teachers and those that were guiding us whilst in the physical body draw close to us, we are still feeling familiar to the physical world, the material world that we have spent so long to. So we find that the world that we are now looking at in our spiritual sense seems so familiar because it looks similar to the physical world. However, when we are taught that, and we see our loved ones and we have a communication with them and we see them go off and we want to go with them, there's certain doors that they will walk through in and out like rotating doors, but when we try to go through them we won't get through them. And it's of my opinion that I feel that this is because we haven't earned the spiritual currency needed to step through those doors. And I feel that the spiritual currency is far more worth having than the physical currency. And I feel that no matter what celebrity status you have, what financial status you have, what educational status you have, it doesn't matter what you achieve in the physical sense, that if your spiritual currency hasn't risen to a satisfactory level, you will find that when you transition to the spiritual world, without that spiritual currency, some of those doors will not open for you. And it's not to say that they won't open, of course they will, because everybody has the right to walk through these doors. However, you may need to go on a spiritual journey in the next life in order to grow spiritually to earn that spiritual currency that will allow you to go through those doors in the spiritual realm, which may take you a lot longer. And it's of my opinion that whilst we're living in this physical realm, that we do things in order to raise that spiritual currency. Yes, we need to still continue to work our 9 to 5 if that's the type of time constraint role that we have, or if you're lucky enough to win the lottery, fabulous. But it's of my opinion that we ought to then figure a way of earning a higher spiritual currency, because the only thing that we take with us when we pass from this world to the next, we take with us our spiritual consciousness, we take with us our name of all that we achieved, our memories, and we take with us the spiritual currency. And to me, spiritual currency is about the help that we've aided other people, the help that we've facilitated others' lives, the impact we've had on other people's lives. And I think currency can go both ways. It can go into the negative, where you're in a negative state where you need to owe currency, and I also feel it's a currency that you can gain credit. And for me, this means that when you do negative things to people, whether you are beating someone in a physical sense with your fists, your feet, you're kicking someone, whether you are screaming obscenities at somebody, whether you are making fun of the appearance of somebody, whether you are telling somebody to demoralize them, that they are no good, and to lose their confidence and give them self-worth, or not to give them self-worth, but to reduce their self-worth, and to talk to them in such a way that they feel ridiculed and degraded and demasculated and all of these things, that to me what's happening is that you are lowering your spiritual currency, which means you are reducing it, which means you are going into a negative, which means you are going into debt, spiritual currency debt. And it could even be when you think of thoughts, so you think, oh, that's a load of rubbish, or that person, look at how they're dressed, or I'm not going to let her do this, who does she think she is, or she'll never be anything, or I'm laughing, or you're laughing, or there's some kind of negative tone to the thought that you're having about somebody else who's trying to achieve something in life. Those will cause you to gain negative currencies and to be in debt. And I feel that for the one negative thought, you ought to have 17 positive thoughts outweigh the weight of that negative thought. Because it's so easy to live in this physical world, I feel, live in a negative trait of life, to live in such a negative mindset. It's so easy to degrade someone. It's so easy to laugh at what someone's wearing. But how often do you walk past someone that you think they look lovely? Do you compliment them? How often do you see someone with a lovely lipstick and say, oh, that's a nice colour on you? How often do you walk past someone who's wearing a nice pair of shoes? Oh, I love your shoes. How often do you walk past someone who just looks absolutely lovely in the outfit that they've chosen to wear? Oh, that looks lovely. How often do we stop to do that? But how quick are we to look at someone, oh my God, why is she wearing that? Or, oh my God, why is she talking about this? Who does she think she is? Negativity in thoughts can do more damage than what you could ever possibly realize. And I feel that the work that needs to be done in this physical life are two things: learning how to let go, your hold on any material item, learning how to take somebody else's hand and help them on the same ladder you're walking up, to help push them further than you, to help give them a bump up, to help them to climb on your shoulders, to prop them up. I feel that in this physical world, we are here to come together as one, as a unit, so that we can band through arms, holding hands, and we can band together to create an effect, a ripple of love that comes with compassion and comes with kindness and comes with joy and happiness. You will have your own words, I'm sure, at this stage of what you would include here. And I feel it's really important that we look at the essence of, what am I doing to help others right now? And it could be a feeling of, you're feeling really fed up or depressed at work, and you walk past someone on the street on your route home, and maybe it's a beggar in the street and they ask you for a change, and what do? Do you huff and you gruff at the cheek and the possibility or the audacity that person had to ask you for some change, and you scuttle off in your mad little upset thoughts? But then I think, well, why not take a moment to rewind a little bit, go back to that moment when that person sitting on the cold slab floor kindly asked you, do you have any change, please? And look at how you've addressed your self in that mode. That another spirit person who hasn't got the opportunity to have work where a manager is not being so nice, and they don't have that opportunity because you're still getting paid, they're not. So for whatever the cause that brought them to sit on that slab, to have broken teeth and a cold bum, to have cold shoulders and a cold arm, and to have a smelly little blanket where they don't have a dishwasher to wash it and make it clean. So where they've become accustomed now that they've got to sit there and ask these people who are supposed to be their soul brothers and sisters as they walk past, please sir, do you have any change? Please madam, can I have some change for a cup of tea? But we have the audacity to get upset at the thought of being asked for help, a hand of friendship. Sometimes when we're walking past these people, you may not have the physical change in your pocket, and that's okay. How about how are you? I'm sorry I don't have any change, but how are you? What's your name? Sometimes a simple acknowledgement from one human being to another can be more than the payment of the entire bank account that you have. Being acknowledged. We are all spirit here having a physical experience. Some are enjoying this experience more than others. What would it kill you to reach into that pocket of change that you have? Don't reach for £1, but reach for £5. Reach for £10 and give it to that person, because when you go home and you open your fridge, you have food there, and you lie in your bed and you smell those freshly washed sheets. I'm not saying that you have to do this for every person that you walk past. Sometimes just an acknowledgement of a hello, that I heard you. I've heard you ask me. I'm unable to give you what you want, but hello. And I feel sometimes the compassion is so low in certain hearts of people that through their own lifestyle or people that they've come across or they're working with, that they've reached a point of anger, that the mere mention of being asked something enrages that person. And I think this is the enrage that needs to be lost. I feel that as you as an individual listening to me right now, you probably do all these things. You probably acknowledge somebody. Perhaps you don't take it to heart and think it's an audacity for someone to ask you for change. I'm sure if they were living in a mansion, there would be no need for them to be on that cold slab floor. Why don't you sit beside them next time? Take a moment, sit right beside them on the cold floor. Take a moment to ask somebody for change. Sometimes we need to put ourselves in other people's shoes to really see how it feels, or to feel how it feels. And I feel, from my point of view, that this is all part of aspects of gaining spiritual currency in terms of trying and acknowledging other spiritual beings. We are all of the brotherhood of man, which to me means we are all spiritual brothers and sisters, because we're all connected by the one life force, and that life force is of God. And for everybody here that you come into contact day in, day out, you may not say hello to, you may stand beside them on the train, you may walk beside them on the street, you may buy something from them in a shop. We are all connected by the life force that is of God. And sometimes we forget that we are part of this connection, of this life force. But we must remember it. And we must remember it before we have only 3 seconds left to breathe it in this physical life. Because when we've only got 3 seconds left of our breath, taking our last physical breath, with that last acknowledgement in our mind, this is it, oh my God, this is it, this is really happening, oh my, there is no do-over day. At that moment, you cannot go back and rewind the day, or tomorrow I'll do it better tomorrow, just give me one more day. It doesn't matter your celebrity status. It doesn't matter your educational status. It doesn't matter your financial status. Because when you take your physical last breath, and then you take your spiritual conscious breath, whatever your spiritual currency is, that is what will take you through the doors of where you need to go. And remember, this physical experience of life is only short term. If you think about when you go on holiday, or imagine you were going to go on a physical holiday to whatever destination of the world you would wish to travel, and you could make it a working holiday where you could get paid to work there, and you need to work there to maybe pay for where the accommodation you're staying, and so you work to earn that money. And it's the same as being in this physical world where you have your financial money to take you from one place or the next, but the spiritual currency is what you're taking from this physical world to the next. So you are actually working in a physical experience to earn your spiritual currency. That's what you're trying to earn. Not to forget the physical energy of money, but to remember you are on a working holiday in this physical experience, because it doesn't last forever. This physical experience is only for a short time. So it's not really about the amount of physical money you can make. It's about how much spiritual currency can you raise. And you see, with the spiritual currency, it will enrich you more than what you could ever possibly know, because spiritually We come from the one source that is of God, and God is pure love, unconditional love. And your spiritual currency, the more you can show unconditional love, kindness and compassion, is the more spiritual currency you will create in your balance. So that when you take your final physical breath, your spiritual currency has already gone cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. Meaning, when you cross over and your loved ones go back to their level of planes, because the more closer we are to the physical world, when we take our physical last breath and we move over to our spiritual way of breathing, we are in a dimension that looks similar to what the physical world looks like, and so it's so much more denser. If you think of traveling in a town centre with lots of traffic lights and lots of traffic, and it's very sticky, you can go only a little bit here and a little bit there, but yet you get on the motorway that's free and that's easy, and you can just drive, and there's no restriction there. That's what it's like for your loved ones. It's like the closer that they come to this world, the closer they come to the density of this world, it's coming into that traffic, that heaviness, that smog of the fumes and all of that. And so, of course, they're not going to want to stay close to this density for that long. They'll come and they'll go. So when they come to see you, because they know and have heard that you're transitioning to there, they're going to be happy to see you. So they're going to make this journey towards this density of this life so that they can greet you and be there with you, and they've seen you and you've seen them and you've spoken and you can't believe it. Oh my God, is this for real? Yes, it is. And they say, look, we're going to go back now. And you're like, oh, I want to go with you. But yet you won't be able to, because you haven't created enough spiritual currency. So as they go beyond, and some decide to stay with you, you will then be shown by your spiritual teachers and your helpers and your guides perhaps how you can then continue working in that density of the spiritual realm in order to help your currency. Maybe, and this is just of my own philosophy and thinking, maybe to increase your currency you then have to find someone in this physical world to work with them, to help them, to spend what would be years in this physical life, spending time helping that person throughout their depression, throughout of their situation, whatever is deemed to be the process that would help raise your spiritual currency is what you may have to do. It's something to think about, isn't it? It's something to think about. What are you giving back in this life? Who are the people you are helping to encourage them, to show kindness to them, to show compassion? Now, it doesn't need to be one solid person. It's a matter of walking past your strangers that walk past you, and you showing compassion and kindness to your fellow man. Every thought you have will create a cha-ching style of spiritual currency. It is your thoughts that you have that will create the abundance of your spiritual currency that will make you in debt or will make you in credit. So you may need to start thinking about, how do I begin to change my thoughts to raise my spiritual currency? Well, then you need to take a look at yourself and how you live, and you need to take a look at how you speak to others and how you think about others. And sometimes when we live and we work in a high pressurized situation, it can be stressful, it can cause us anxiety, and it can cause us to react. And it's in this reaction that we need to look at, because it's how we react that will create those thoughts that will decrease our spiritual currency or will raise our spiritual currency. And therefore, through meditation, which can help to de-stress the mind and the body, and can help to bring you back to a equilibrium type of spiritual balance, that when you are feeling that somebody else has been unruly, unrude, or being rude to you, or you have a manager that's being unfairly treating you in a way that's not right, or other people, or whatever the situation is, it's looking at how do I react to those people and that situation. Because you may walk past somebody on the street who's asked you for some change, and you may have given them £1. Cha-ching! Up goes your spiritual currency. But then you're at work the following day and I can't believe she said that, she's this and she's that, she makes me sick, I can't stand her, blah blah blah, I wish that this happened, and all of those thoughts outweigh that £1 that you gave to that person the following evening or the previous evening. To raise your spiritual currency is about a continuous, regular, persistent way of thinking that produces kindness and compassion, love and freedom. Freedom from being controlling on others and helping others to be free into the comfort of being who they ought to be. We are all souls of spirit. It doesn't matter if somebody is in a same-sex relationship. It doesn't matter if somebody realizes that they no longer wish to live their life in the body that they were born in, where some people want to be a female but they were born a male, or they were born a male but they want to be a female, or vice versa. Allow people to be the freedom to what their soul is calling them to be. Try to reduce your judgment on other people, because judgment has a category of a high debt spiritual currency. So when you are judging other people, you are putting yourself in spiritual currency of much debt. And of course, when you walk past somebody who's asking you for change, or maybe somebody's asking, can you help me take a picture? Can you take a picture please of me and my family? Yes, maybe that will raise the spiritual currency. So with all the good against all the bad, you may pass this life and into the next life with 0 credit but 0 debt. And it may mean that yes, you pass through the first door, but maybe you can't get through to the second level of life in the spiritual realm, being that your spiritual currency, you just need a little bit more. And so then you may have to do more spiritual work in order to raise that currency. I'm giving you today food for thought, to say to you that your thoughts carry a weight, and that weight can be positive or it can be negative. And the only way that we can perhaps look at raising our spiritual currency is looking at our reactions when somebody is being negative towards us, and when somebody is being positive towards us, and how we react to that. We need to be calm in mind. We need to help our fellow man and fellow sister. We need to understand that we are not strangers walking past people that we've never said hello to in a physical life, but to know that these people walking past us each day are there for a reason. When we read the newspaper and we see on the newspaper of atrocities of people being murdered, kidnapped, abused, you will have some kind of thought about that when you read it. When somebody has been caught for abusing somebody else, you may have a thought of good. When someone is put to death by a government that allows that to happen, you may have a thought, that person deserves that, whereby you put your mind into the same level of vibrations as those that committed that crime. There has to be a spiritual currency created for that. For myself, I prefer to avoid reading newspapers where I can. Some days it gets the better of me. So we have to be careful that when we're reading and we're listening to these hurtful things, that we are understanding it will create within us a thought in our mind, and we have to be accountable for those thoughts. When you are having a conversation with a friend who's talking about their husband or their wife that's cheated on them or getting on their nerves, or for whatever reason they are complaining, you will be manipulated and enticed into a dialogue with that person to comfort them, to talk about how bad and agree how bad the other person is. You are creating a spiritual currency. It doesn't mean when you are trying to give advice to friends, keep your advice as neutral as you possibly can. These are my suggestions, these are my thoughts. My philosophy on spiritual currency. Meditation, kindness, compassion, love will help raise your spiritual currency. And I'm sure at the moment you have bags and bags and bags of wonderful spiritual currency that is in credit, that will take you to all the levels that you need to go when it is your time, which I'm sure is not for a very long time. But just to be on the safe side, from the moment of hearing this recording, consciously be aware of what you say and what you think. And it does no harm just to raise that spiritual currency that little bit more. I wish you well in everything you do. Bless you with the life force that is of God. And so it is.